For Apple, design has never been just about making things look pretty. It's about how they feel, how they work, really how they connect with us on a gut level. It's the absolute core of their identity, this language they speak through aluminum, glass, and pixels. But now that language is changing in the biggest way we've seen in more than a decade, and it has started a huge debate. So let's get into it. To really get Apple, you've got to understand the partnership between Steve Jobs and the legendary designer Jony Ive. Jobs actually called Ive his spiritual partner. Just think about that. Together, these two created an era of design that didn't just sell a bunch of products. No, it created a whole cultural phenomenon. This deep, almost religious belief in the power of design, that's the foundation for everything that's come since. Okay. So to really understand why this latest design is causing such a stir, we actually have to go back. Because for the last 20 years, Apple has been carefully building this visual legacy, one iconic product at a time, that totally set the stage for what's happening right now. So people who follow this stuff have kind of mapped out these distinct eras. Remember the early 2000s? We had all that playful, colorful plastic and rubber. Then we moved into the super clean, geometric forms of the iPod era. Then came what many call the golden age, aluminum and glass. After that was the Thinnovation era, where it felt like the main goal was just to make everything impossibly thin. And more recently, things have been about this very precise, utility-focused design. Every single phase had its own clear philosophy. And oh boy, do people have their favorites. There is such a powerful, emotional connection to that aluminum and glass period, from roughly 2007 to 2012. You see comments like this all the time, that 2011 was peak Apple. And it's not just about nostalgia. For a lot of people, that was the moment when Apple felt like it was living in the future, and everyone else was just trying to catch up. So here's the thing. This legacy wasn't some happy accident. It was a very deliberate, 2-decade-long project to build a brand on minimalism and function. It created this expectation, this visual promise with its users. And then, with just one software update, it felt like Apple decided to just rip up that promise. And that brings us to the star of our show, the super controversial new look, which people are calling liquid glass. This is way more than just an update. It's a statement. It's a very intentional break from that clean, flat look that has defined the iPhone for years. And here it is. This is Apple's new vision in action. You can see they're just ditching the flatness and they're diving right back into depth, light, and texture. It is a complete reimagining of what a simple icon on your screen, and really the whole interface, is supposed to look and feel like. So, what is this stuff? Well, Apple calls it liquid glass, and the official marketing line is that it's a new translucent material that's meant to reflect and refract what's around it, all while dynamically changing to, as they say, bring greater focus to content. It's all about making the interface feel alive and, in their words, delightful. Okay, so what does that actually look like for you and me on our phones? Well, it means totally redesigned app icons that have multiple layers of this glass. It means the clock on your lock screen can now fluidly resize and adapt to whatever wallpaper is behind it. You've got new 3D effects for your photos, and even animated album art when you're playing music. This is not a small tweak, folks. This is a top-to-bottom rewrite of the visual language. But, of course, the second this new design actually landed on people's phones, Apple's perfectly crafted marketing pitch just slammed right into reality. And the reaction online was immediate, it was passionate, and man, was it divided. And whoa, the disconnect was just huge. On one side, you have Apple's official press release calling it a delightful and elegant new software design. And on the other side, you get comments like this one from a Redditor. Looks like iOS meeting MySpace. That one comment basically sums up the entire controversy, doesn't it? Now, to be fair, it wasn't all hate. Not at all. Some people were totally on board. You saw comments like this one everywhere, saying it's so beautiful and fresh looking. For a whole bunch of users, this was exactly the kind of bold, exciting shakeup they'd been hoping for. But yeah, for every person who loved it, it felt like there was someone else on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. This comment here just captures that feeling perfectly. It is truly so ugly, I'm trying to find a way to downgrade it. So this wasn't just, I don't like it. It was a deep, visceral rejection of the new style. And this is where it gets really interesting. The comparison people kept making over and over again wasn't to something new and futuristic. Nope, it was to the past. People kept bringing up Microsoft's Windows Vista and its glassy arrow design from all the way back in the mid-2000s. So if you boil down all that frustration, it really comes down to a few key things. People were calling it a mess, saying it was just way too visually cluttered and distracting. They were pointing out that all the new, bigger UI elements meant you could see less information on your screen at one time. A lot of people said it felt unfinished, kind of like a cheap theme you download for an old Android phone. And most importantly, people started raising some serious questions about basic readability and accessibility. Okay, so all this back and forth online, this really passionate debate, it raises a much bigger question, right? One that goes way beyond just, do I like how it looks or not? Is the new design actually worse to use? Let's switch gears and look at this from an expert's point of view. To put it another way, did Apple get so caught up in chasing this glossy, super realistic look that they forgot to make it easy to use? Is liquid glass a step forward for how pretty something can be, but a huge leap backward for actual user experience? There's a UX designer, Jaco Verdini, who he hit the nail on the head with this one. He argues that, yeah, the effect is pretty, but it creates a massive problem. He says when everything is semi-transparent, you're no longer focusing on content. Your eye is fighting with noise. The very thing that's supposed to be delightful actually becomes a distraction. And that's it right there. That's the real tension here. Apple is pushing the envelope on visual flair, but in doing so, they might be sacrificing the exact clarity and focus that their entire brand was built on for decades. It's that classic fight, form versus function, playing out right on our phone screens. And this whole thing feels kind of familiar, doesn't it? Because this isn't the first time we've seen this from Apple. Remember the Thinnovation era? That obsession with making devices thinner and thinner and thinner no matter what? Well, that led directly to the butterfly keyboard, which was famously fragile and just awful to type on. It was a perfect example of when a design goal, in that case thinness, steamrolled the functional need for a keyboard that actually works. This feels like an echo of that. So that's where we are. And it leaves us with this huge question. Is this really the future of design? Something we're all just going to get used to and eventually love? Or is this a rare public misstep from Apple? A beautiful but ultimately distracting own goal that proves yet again that looks aren't everything? I'm really curious. What do y'all think?